Yo, welcome back to the channel. Home recovery. We just don't look for recovery. We search for it no matter how wide, no matter how long, no matter how short, no matter what the case may be. That's what it is. That's what we gonna do. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Anyway. I got a special guest on here today. Sorry, guys. Trying to get it. All right, I got a special guest on here today to talk to you guys. My mom, you know what I'm saying?
Hi.
I got her on Zoom, so hopefully I can see her because she lives in Detroit. And I wanted to do this too, guys, because I wanted to show you guys that no matter where you at, if you want to be a guest on my channel, then guess what? We do it anyhow, anyway. It don't matter. You know what I mean? So that's what we're gonna do. That's weird. Let's go ahead and use the mic up. It'll be alright. We'll just do this one. Anyway, we'll just do both. Anyway, alright guys, so my mom's gonna tell you her story about what she's been through or whatever.
Hi guys, hopefully you can hear me and see me. I'm presently sitting in my truck. One, because I have one, so that's awesome. And two, because I got my other grandkids in the house, so I'm trying to get away from the noise for a moment. Alright, so basically you guys have met me a couple times, but you never really heard my story per se, so here we go. Alright, so my actual story is a little different. I actually did not get into my addiction until I was in my 30s, I believe. All right, so at that point, James and Tanice and Majesta, those are my three kids' names. They were grown at that point, literally, pretty much. So what happened was there was an incident where I trusted some people I shouldn't have trusted, and my kids got hurt. And so I was carrying that around for a while. I had a lot of guilt and stuff about that. And one day, one of my friends, or supposed friends, a guy, his name was Gay. But anyways, I started hanging out with him for whatever reason. And one day we went to a house, and I have never been an addict in my life. No drink. I smoke cigarettes. That's it. No marijuana. No drugs of any type. Like, that's just who I am. I work. I go to work. I take care of my kids. That's what I do. Anyway, so we went to the house or whatever, and he gave me a shotgun. And I did not really at that time know what it was. And so basically, he was smoking crack. He hit it, and then he blew it in my mouth or whatever. And like, that was a shotgun. And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting feeling or whatever. And so basically, that's how it started. And then like a couple years later, like it was just like I would see him sometimes. So it wasn't no all the time thing. I would see him sometimes, and then it just gradually got deeper and deeper to where I started using it full blown. And so at that point, I was like, that's not okay. So I went into a rehab, my first rehab. And of course, anybody that knows anything about rehab knows that sometimes when you go to jail, you become a better criminal. Or sometimes you go to rehab, you become a better addict. So what that means is I met someone in there, and I got out, and then this person got out, and then we ended up not being in recovery, ended up using together. So that ended up being about 4 or 5 years with that whole situation. And luckily for me, my kids were older. So James had a family at that point, Nene had a family at that point, and MJ had a family at that point. So they never really, thank God, were affected that deeply up for it. They were, but they weren't, if that makes sense. Like, they weren't little kids while mom was getting high. But because me and my kids are so close, especially MJ, my oldest daughter, she kind of went through with me as far as like, she would try to come save me. She would try to come get me. She would try to come, make me stop and things like that. My youngest daughter ended up moving in with me at one point, and By the time it was over, she literally had told me that her mom was dead. Like literally, like she didn't have a mom anymore, which hurt me, but not enough to make me stop, of course. So then at that point, I ended up just going into the hood, quote unquote hood, full blown. At that point, getting high every day. Like I don't know if you guys know, but I have glasses and I also have hearing aids. Well, at that time, I didn't have either. So I'm literally walking around a freaking hood, blind and can't see, depending on my friend to make sure I was safe, if that makes sense. Of course, I wasn't safe, but that's what my thinking was. So we ended up going to abandoned houses. We ended up going or living in abandoned houses. Um, like there was a point where, like, literally, I was so hungry because I hadn't eaten in days because you don't eat when you're getting high. Your whole thing is just get high. And a friend of ours had gave me a small plate of food, and I promise you, that was the best food I ate. I felt like it was a Thanksgiving dinner, and it was literally like maybe a really small portion of meat, potatoes, and vegetables. But because my body had went without food for so long, it felt like I was eating a Thanksgiving dinner. Literally, that's like how we do when we're in addiction, because we decide to keep using ourselves, not eating, not sleeping, not taking care of ourselves. You know what I mean? And like I'm in Detroit, and I was getting high in Detroit. So if anybody knows anything about Detroit, it is not safe even when you're sober. And I'm literally walking around this joint like without a care in the world. Like all I cared about was getting high every single day. And the partner that I was with was very abusive to me as well. So like it was I just experienced a lot of things in my life I should not have ever had to experience, but I did because the drug got a control of me and I could not let it go. It finally got to the point where my current husband it was weird how it happened. Like everybody has a different story. So I like this was before this like I like what do you call it? Not FaceTime, but like text, not text. What is that stupid thing called? Like Facebook or whatever.
Facebook, yeah.
And my friend had it on my phone, and I didn't even know nothing about it. And so I like just like tried to search his name or whatever, and I found him, and then I like texted him or whatever, and I didn't tell him what situation was I was in or anything like that. I was just trying to reach out to him or whatever. Then he reached out back to me, and then in my head I was like, if I saw Leon right in this moment, he saw me the way I was right now, what would he think? And because I was been in the love with this man for 100 fucking years, you know, it like said, yeah, no, not so much. You know what I mean? Like I need to change. I need to do something. I need to change. So I went to rehab again for a second time. Actually, yeah. And so at that point, I was like, I got to get help. I really need to get help. And at that point, I was not doing it for anybody else but myself. So I got a rehab and stuff like that. Went down south for a while. Ended up moving in with my daughter, my oldest daughter, and her 3 kids, and her fiance at the time. And long story short, I finally said enough is enough. And that was the day I said, I'm done. I got too much to live for to keep throwing my life away over the pain that I caused to myself and to my children by trusting someone I shouldn't have trusted. And again, that's hearsay. I mean, what I mean by that is I shouldn't blame myself for that because I'm not the one that did it, but I was responsible for my kids, and so I'm the one that put that in that situation. So that was really what triggered me to want to escape in the first place. But I had to somehow forgive myself for that and put that aside because, even though that was the pain that may have started this situation, everything I was doing after that was just adding to the pain. It wasn't erasing it, it was adding to it. So I had to make a decision like, I'm done. This is it. I'm done. So when I finally said I was done, after the millionth time, I was done. And then my life started improving and stuff like that. And I got, I was never been an issue. I've always worked. But my life changed as far as like, that's when my my now husband reached out to me and said, this is crazy. You need to come home. And I'm like, why would I ever come back to Detroit? That's where I was using that because he knew the situation. He was like, no, that's not what I mean. I said, what do you mean? He was like, come home to me. And so I was like, okay. So I ended up moving back to Detroit and moving into the home with my with my husband, and a year later we got married, and 8 years down the line, here we are. So
you definitely had to change, even when you went back to Detroit, even though that's where you was going and using or whatever. So you definitely had to still change your people, place, and things, though, right?
Definitely, because I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was first here with Lee, and sorry, Lee, I know you're gonna watch this. When I was first here with Lee, about a year in, my friend contacted me. She contacted me and she was like, "Hey, you know what you gotta do? Want to do it?" She's always in trouble. That's just the way she was built, I think. Anyways, but I had to stop myself and say, like, "Hey, no, absolutely not. I cannot come see you. We can't have phone call conversations," because she was always my trigger, because she's the one that really I used really heavily with when I was in the life force for real. That's what I was with.
Absolutely.
So I had to be like, no, absolutely not. I had to change that. But that's another thing, guys, and I'm going to say this too. So I had to be strong within myself, because when I moved in here with Lee, he had someone to live with him, and that was an addict. He didn't use in our home, but he was an addict. You understand what I'm saying? So I lived with this person for a year until I finally said, enough is enough. He has to go. I cannot live with this around me, because it's just going to trigger me at some point. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't live with somebody that was an addict. I just couldn't do it. It was too much.
So you had to set boundaries.
The thought was always there.
So you had to set boundaries. You had to set boundaries with him. Yeah.
I had to set boundaries for myself.
Right.
For my life. You understand what I'm saying? My husband didn't understand it because that wasn't his addiction. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he didn't even though people say they understand, they don't. If they haven't been in your addiction, they don't understand. They understand the recovery part of it, but they don't understand the triggers, because my triggers are not the same as James's, and James's triggers aren't the same as mine. You know what I'm saying? The next person. So he just didn't understand. He didn't understand or anything like that, but it's okay. It's okay. Like, we figured it out. So I literally said, he gotta go or I go. Like, I had to literally set that boundary. Either he goes or I go. I can't fucking do this shit. Like, I can't. You know what I mean? So that was, like I said, every day is still a fight. Like, then that's the other thing. Like, when I'm James's mom. So when James was in his addiction, boy, it was a tough, because again, just setting boundaries. Like, I couldn't even do my own child, because it could have triggered me. And not that I chose myself for my child, but in a way I had to. Because if I go down, then everybody goes down. Does that make sense? So I couldn't just say, well, fuck all that. That's my kid. And it was my kid, and I did deal with him from afar, but I couldn't deal with him in the way that I couldn't deal with him directly while he was in that addiction. Does that make sense? That's just the way it was.
Right, absolutely. So let me talk about this. I know you, because you're my mom, obviously, but so you didn't grow up in the hood, so you grew up with the mom and the dad, and so
no.
So
that was weird. So let's touch on that. So yeah, so basically, I don't know if you know anything about Michigan people, but I'm actually from Jackson, Michigan, where James is at right now. And as you can see, I'm a little on the lighter side. I'm white. So my parents, obviously, my dad was a carpenter.
They can't see your face, Mom.
All his life. Huh?
They can't see your face. They only see half your face. Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, down.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay, right there.
Am I better?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Stay here, bro. Oh, it's okay. So I don't need to my face. But anyways, so the story of that is my mom and dad. My mom was a housewife, and my dad was a union carpenter. So my mom stayed home and took care of the house. My dad went to work. That's just the way it was back in the 50s, guys. Sorry, I know it's not that way now, but that's how it was then. Long story short, my parents to this day do not smoke, drink, or anything like that. Like, I did not come from that kind of home. I came from a really good upbringing. It wasn't my parents or anything like that, or my upbringing that made me, go into that addiction or anything like that. It was literally a life circumstance that made me go in that direction. it doesn't have to start like I said. I lived in Jack Finch. I lived in a nice house. We had 2 cars. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that. That was never a part of it. There are some people it is a part of, but me personally, it wasn't. It wasn't a part of that. Like I said, I was in my 30s. I had 3 kids of my own and grandkids before I went into my addiction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't. It had nothing to do with the way I was raised or anything like that. It was a life choice.
Right, and
it was like, how do I deal with this pain and this ugliness? And even with that, to be real honest with you, when I first started, it was just curiosity. But then once I got deeper into it and kept going and going and going and going, I knew why.
Yeah, it took a hold of you and stuff like that. And that's the thing, though. I think like I think in addiction, everybody always do it, but it was a reason, you know. And I think it was because of what happened. You guys don't really know what happened. You know what I'm saying? But there's some stuff that happened. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was mostly what it was. You know what I mean? You was hurt, and you know what I mean, and you were just trying to cover up the pain. You know what I mean? So how did So how did you deal with that stuff, like the pain? You just got over it, or you just had to work, like took a lot of work to get over the pain?
No. See, so when it comes to the pain, that's where the 12 steps come in. First, you have to admit that you are, that you are an addict. That's the hardest thing. But part of the 12 step is dealing with why you are in that addiction in the first place. What I had to do, and the hardest thing you will ever have to do, is forgive yourself.
That's what I was trying to do.
I had to forgive myself. If you don't forgive yourself, nothing else is going to work. Because if you continue to whether it was your fault or not, that's a non-issue. It doesn't matter if it was your fault, if it was because of the environment, it was because of the person. None of that matters.
Mm-hmm.
What first you have to do is forgive yourself and understand that this addiction doesn't make you who you are.
Right.
You are an awesome person without that addiction. That addiction doesn't make you.
And I'll tell you what, guys. I'll tell you one thing, and this is what I always try to say. Like, my mom's right here. How long it took me a long time to forgive you, right? Yeah, I didn't just jump on board of the forgiveness train.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I think all my kids still have a small bit of hostility towards me about that. That's why you have to forgive yourself. If you're waiting for the other person to forgive you, you would be waiting a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do they have more understanding of what happened and everything like that? But I think deep in their hearts that they're always gonna say, "But mom, did it make sense?" Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know what
that's fine. But yeah, that definitely took me a minute.
Pause the video.
Okay. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. But anyway, so like I was saying, it took a long time for me to forgive her and her rest of her kids. So, what I was trying to say about that point is, so like she's saying, once you get it, you got to do it for yourself. You know what I mean? Right?
Absolutely. You can't do it for nobody else. It's not gonna work. And like I said, as far as the forgiveness point, that's what I was trying to say for you. Sorry, I got interrupted there. I apologize for that. But what I was trying to say was, if you're waiting for the other person to forgive you, it's never going to happen. That's why you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself for your own wrongdoings. And that's part of the 12 steps too. Admitting your wrongdoings and trying to make amends when possible. Because some people you're never going to be able to make amends to. They're just like, yeah, I don't want to hear it, you're done. And that's what they have to do to continue with their life, and that's perfectly fine. That's why you have to forgive yourself. Like I said, if I wait for my kids to forgive me, they would never forgive me. But what I can do is forgive myself and try to make amends as much as possible. What does that mean to me? What that means to me is to forgive myself and then try to be better from that day forward to make life better for them. I can't erase the past. It's not a thing. That's never going to happen. But I can move forward in the future on a better note and make things happen better. Like, and it's weird. And this is the weirdest thing I want to say real quick. So I had to do my addiction. James wasn't around with my addiction. He just wasn't. Like he had his own life at that point, which is really weird. And so now that he got his addiction, and then I had to deal with that, which brought up a lot of things for myself for my own addiction. But it's what it is. And now at this moment, we are both on a recovery road. Does that make sense? I have not used in over 13 years, but then I had to watch my son go through it. Does that make sense? So if you don't forgive yourself, then how am I going to help him? Does that make sense? So that's really where we're at. Have to forgive yourself. That's just the way it has to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's the truth. But I want to tell you guys something real quick before we get off here. I want to say to tell my mom just because I didn't tell her this. Tell me why, guys. I had a dream the other day ago, right? And it wasn't a normal using dream. It was weird, and I don't know what it means, but it's just weird. So I just want to say, like, the dreams get weird when you get in recovery. You know what I'm saying? And I had a dream, and I was like, it was crazy because I have two sisters, guys. Nene, my younger sister, Nene, we call her Nene. She was doing what we was doing, and then MJ, that's my older sister, we call her MJ. She was drinking every day. I mean, like she woke up in the morning drinking, like she stayed drunk, like I used to do back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the only one sober in this dream, and I'm trying to talk to them like, yo, like y'all need to quit. I already been down that path. You know what I'm saying? What is wrong with you? Because especially Nene, you know, she don't do nothing, and so it made me freak me out. And then like it was crazy because like the day in, I would talk to them, and they didn't want to hear nothing. They didn't want to hear nothing from me. They just want to keep, you know, getting high in front of me and drinking and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here like, guys, wow, what are you doing? Like type stuff. And then the next day, it will happen all over again. It was like for 3 days until I woke up. It was weird.
Well, an analysis of that is that what I'm wondering if that was just you seeing your addiction in your sisters that you saw in yourself. Even though, let's be honest here, Nene still doesn't drink, smoke, or smoke weed. Like she does not do any drugs. Nene is still Mrs. Clean. And MJ, she does drink, but not like that. So he would think, I don't want you to think that that's what they do. They don't. But
no, they don't.
James's dream is he was seeing himself in his sisters to show him his past behavior. Does that make sense? Or how you felt being on the outside, being a recovery person and having to deal with somebody like that.
Right.
Instead of being the addict yourself.
Right.
So I wonder if that was more of
it was weird. It had to be because I'm sitting here getting frustrated, and I'm like, "Yo, what are y'all doing?" You know what I mean? And they was not listening to nothing I was saying. So I'm like, "Yo, it blew my mind." And it was the thing about like using dreams I can handle. You know what I'm saying? But seeing like my sisters use and that knowing they don't do that. Then it was like all kinds of stuff that gave my mind like, did they do that because of me? You know what I'm saying? It was like all weird, guys. It was like I like woke up freaking the fuck out, like literally. Then I had to realize it was a dream, but I'm like, you know, it was.
And again, your mind plays a lot of tricks on you sometimes, guys. You got to be careful, especially in recovery, because it's trying to trick you back into going to that old behavior. It really does. Like I said, with the situation here, there was absolutely no reason why I would need to go back to addiction because someone around me is doing it. But it wasn't that I was trying to go back to my addiction. It was triggering me. It didn't trigger me as in I didn't do it, but it was a constant reminder of, you know, the way things used to be. And maybe that's why God put him here, like put us together at that moment, because he needed me to understand what my shit did to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't see that part. So maybe that was it. But eventually I'm like, yeah, you gotta go. It's too much.
Right.
So that's interesting.
That was interesting. But anyway, guys, my mom gotta go do some stuff. I gotta go do some stuff. Y'all know I'm always super, super busy. She's super, super busy. So we're gonna end this, and we want to thank Mama Barb. They call you Mama Barb. This is my mom, but y'all can call her Mama Barb if you want to. We want to thank her for coming on here and telling her side of the story. We definitely appreciate that. We always need to hear the stuff like that. Mine, do you want to say the thing?
Again, I just want to say, just keep coming. Just keep showing up. That's all you can do. Keep showing up every day with a clean and sober mind. And 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time. I swear to God, some days it's 1 second at a time. Like from right this second, from getting the coffee to moving to the next room. You know, I mean, literally, it's like that, guys. It really is. But anyways, and please support my son's channel. He is doing amazing. You guys. A year ago Christmas, he was a freaking mess. His kids were up here, he was up here, he was a fucking mess. He was not this person at all. Like he was a whole different person. To see this big 360 in him, babe, this is awesome. And also to have you reach out and help helping other people, it's beyond awesome. Like this is God at work right now. That's all I can tell you guys. It's God at work. And I am so glad that He chose my son to do this at this time. So please subscribe, hit that bell. You got the family channel going on. Which y'all check out that family channel because Mom's going to Jamaica in 2 weeks, and I'm going to check out some resorts, and I'm going to put that on the family channel, so don't miss that. Just keep showing up, guys. Keep showing up. That's all I can tell you.
No, do you want to say the super?
Oh, I'm super proud of y'all. You, and especially you sitting there looking at me like, what are you talking about, lady? You too.
All right, guys, we love y'all. Y'all subscribe. You already know. You turn on the notifications. If y'all want to say something to Mama Barb, put it down in the comments. She read my comments all the time. She read comments more than I comment. Well, you know, about the same.
Stalker
Right.
Mom over here.
Well, we love y'all, and we gonna be out. We love y'all. Peace.